Tere hommikust, or good morning. This was more or less the reaction I thought about. We are in Estonia and the people are usually not responding to the presenter. So I encourage you to say good morning. Good morning. I didn't hear anything. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so I hope you're fresh and empowered. And my presentation today is about several topics. Because the topic, actually, I need this pult here. The topic I have to talk about, where is it? The topic I have to talk about is pretty complex. I have, for me, it's easier to have a translation as well. So it's the cooperation of different generations, changing expectations, organization, work, space, time. It's really complex. And I thought, okay, what I'm really telling you today. And I thought actually one of the most important words in here is the word change. Of course, I will talk about organizations. I'm running a company, so organizations is my topic. I'm in human resources. Of course, I will talk about generations. But what I'm talking about in general is a process which is going on out there today and will continue tomorrow. And this process started some day ago. We all call this thing change. And a change is something which does have a point of start, and sometimes we even don't know the point of end. For example, I guess someone of you is married or in love with your elugaslane. And is there anyone in the room, and I think I know at least one in the room, who can say, I love you to your partner? So I thought that Pille will not. But do you remember actually the actual point, day and time when you said, I love you?
Most likely.
Most likely. But usually there is no point. If you, and the English expression is, if you fell in love with someone, I mean, you fell in love, you're falling down in love, whatever, you fell in love, it's a process. You like the smile, you like the way how he whatever moves or she moves, you like the way how they keep their house or home, you like whatever. You start to like little things, and then suddenly, someday you will say, I love you. Have you done this today to your partner? Don't forget, when you go home, do it. It's very important. So someday you will say, I love you, and actually then you know something happened. That's the same with getting older. There's no day when you wake up in the morning, oh my God, this is the old guy, it's me. Oh, I didn't recognize before. So it's a process. There will be one day with, oh, there's a twinkle here. What the hell is going on? And then your hairdresser user is telling you, you have a gray hair here. Next time we should think about coloring or whatever. So it's a process. And usually the people say, I'm getting older. You're not saying I'm old. The getting older is an endless process. You're getting older every day. And there's a day when it starts, but you don't know when it ends. So that's about change. Things change around us, and sometimes we don't recognize they happen. So we will talk about the generations and changes there. We will talk about leading styles and organizations and companies and the impact there. And of course, we will talk about changes which are necessary to support all those changes. It's a pretty complex topic, but it's easy if you follow me. And if you don't understand, at least here I have some slides where you have Estonian language. But if we have just listened to Eve before, and we have been talking about older people, how to motivate them, how to integrate them, what kind of sports you can do with them, what you have to take care. Is this relevant to us? Yes. Is it an important change in our society? Yes. As you can see, in 2000, we had, in general, we had 4, let's say so, older women in a company, working pensioners. And in 2015, already we have 7 of them, as you can see here. This is just a spotlight what happens out there. We have more and more people who are let's say so, an older age, who are working in a company. Before they went either ill, in pension, or they died. But nowadays the life expectations is so high, thank you, but nowadays the life expectation is so high that we have more and more people who are going to work. The question is, do they want to go to work? Not necessarily. Some of them want, some have to. You know the crazy high pensions we have in Estonia. Some of them have to and some of them want. But the topic is, the most of them can, because they are more healthy than ever before. Do we need those people in the workforce? Well, I have heard someone is here from Keeles, I thought. Yes. You would say yes, 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 we need those people at work. Because the horror scenario for me is put everyone above 65 out of a working place, especially a Haigla, a hospital in Estonia. I think they can close the doors. The doctors will miss you. You will miss a lot of people. The process is not yet in the most of the companies in place, but it will come soon because the generations are about to increase. The number of people, of elder people in this society is simply increasing, and we have to put them to work. Why we have to put them into work? Because we need them. We have few young people. We have few people who want to come to Estonia and work here. Just 1,000 last year decided to come from abroad to Estonia and start to work here. So this number is not helping at all. So what do we need? We need older people at work. Can we keep them healthy? We have heard ever, yes, we can keep them healthy. Do we want to integrate them? Yes. And I will show you later a slide which makes it pretty difficult for the companies how to work. In numbers, this is Estonia. This is the population in 2010. We have, luckily, some young people, and we have here old people. So you still can see this is a kind of pyramid design. In 2050, it's moving up. We have, this is then the population between 55 and 90. Can you see the difference? 55 and 90. This is a huge amount of the population. We will have some challenges. One of the challenges is written down here. Look here in these numbers. In the year 2010, we have had 229,000 people older than 65, and we have here already 301,000. What does it mean for us? Well, one big challenge will be that, for example, in 2010, we had 3.6 employees who could put money into the pension system to support one pensioner. That's good. But what would happen here is we will have only 2.1. And some of you might think, okay, the government have to look for a solution. But you know what the government is doing? They're collecting money and handing it over. The solution is, well, they will continue to collect money and hand it over. How will this happen? If you have less people who can put money in, what can you do? Of course, you can put less out. Or you can ask the people who are the less people to put more money in, to put the same amount out. Or you will ask them to put more in and to put less out. But the result will be the same. Those people who are putting money into this fund will not be happy. And those people who are receiving this money, it will not be enough for them. So we will have older people at the workplace because we have a pressure on there to get them to work. Pretty easy. The older people is part of that what I name the generation topic. And that's a very wide story. It's a very wide topic. Because if you say, okay, and what are you talking about? We always have had different generations in a company. But we never ever had such a difference in between the generations and before. Let's say, so my generation, I'm one of those called guys, some people say I'm one of the baby boomers. I'm born in 64. This was the year when I was born in Germany, and this was the year when in Germany 1.2 million have been born in 1 year. Let's say, so more or less the population of Estonia in 1 year. This actually leads us to a point, this topic, the baby boomers, it's a booming generation. They are now going to retire. Currently, we have a situation in the United States of America that every day 10,000 of those people are going to retire. So there we have a situation that the younger population, the young people, are getting, let's say, so the population of the young people are in percent more than they ever have been. The mass of the people are going to retire in the United States. And of course, if those people retire, you will have more young people at work, and their impact on how we work and how we build an organization, how we have to work together, is increasing. Why so? The young people, we call them Generation Y and Generation Z, some say Generation Millennial, and as you can see here, the years are, let's say, so there is no really definition about it. Some say the baby boomers, for example, they end in 65, in this graph they end in 60, but let's say so, 5 years more or less, plus here and there, does not matter. We are talking about different generations, and they are born in different environments, and this builds different mindsets. And this builds different setups of acting, reacting, of learning, and of working. If we hear that we have a lot of people retiring today, and we want to keep them in the company, that's one topic. The other topic is we want to get the young people into the company. But how do we attract those people? My baby boomer generation, 20 years ago, pretty easy. You put an ad into a newspaper, and they came to you as an employer. Nowadays, situation is totally different. You cannot reach those young people by placing an ad into a newspaper. You reach them where? In the digital media. Do they come to you? No. Probably you have to invite them. You have to search them. You have to find them. And they probably will not directly apply on any job opening. You have to make you really interesting, attractive, fancy. But you don't need this to attract an older person. The funny thing is, the older persons have been staying long in a company. My generation has around 5 to 8 employers. Generation Y have around 16 employers. It's double. The average time of a Generation Y person in a company currently is 18 months. What does it mean for you? Well, the older people you can hire, and you can actually think that they probably will stay longer in the company than a young one. Is this an impact on your hiring strategy? Of course, because you have to put more more effort, more into the hiring of the young people than the older ones. And they look for jobs. The older ones probably will still look into a newspaper and try to find a job. Some of the companies are still advertising in newspapers, which makes them different to those who are only advertising online, just a hint. But if I look into this graph, nowadays we have 4 generations, and they behave totally different in any company, any organization. As an employer, as a leader, you have to take care that you actually have an offer, an organization, and a model that you can integrate all of them. I will later come a little bit more to this. Just checking where I'm, okay. For example, if you are in these older people, you could attract them easily. Cars have been interesting for them. Television was something. Those people, they don't want to get a car anymore because they think it's a waste of money. The car, 95% of the time, any car is standing around somewhere on a parking place which you have to pay, or in a garage which is expensive. So maybe I use the public transportation or any car share program, whatever. So having this in doesn't matter. If you think about it, a young person in the company who actually changes the employer 16 to 18 times in his life, does a pension plan count for this person? Not really. You have been pretty good presenting that you have to take care of the young people, and you have to have this strategy and that strategy. That's totally important. Whatever you do in an organization, you have to think that you have 4 or sometimes even 5 generations in the company who have to work together. And this will cause conflicts because the people are so different. The youngest generation is the Generation Z, and let's hear what the Generation Z is about. Z or Z or whatever, it's an Estonian also Z.
5 years from now, Generation Z will make up 10% of the workforce. That's over 16 million employees. So who are they? What do they like to do? What don't they like to do? We found that not a lot of people had the answers to these questions. And we think it's because most people don't know that they don't know.
Do you know the age range of Generation Z?
30 to 50.
22 to 42. Since 2000.
I would say, I don't think I know this.
In regard to the workplace, what do you think the preferred method of communication is for Gen Zers?
Something electronic, email, I would imagine.
Generally, it would be social media.
Email, text message.
If they could text their resume, that would probably be an option too.
I'd rather speak face-to-face with someone.
Yeah, speaking face-to-face is the best way to get something through.
Talking to somebody face-to-face.
Do you think that Gen Zers would prefer to work from home or to go into a corporate environment?
I would imagine they would prefer to work from home.
Work from home.
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 I would like to go to a workplace. If you feel like you can do it at home, you take your time.
I think I'd rather go into the workplace. I think it's important to meet new people, do new things.
I don't think it would be as efficient to work from home because there would be more distractions.
Which do you think Gen Zers consider more important? Career advancement opportunities or higher paying salaries?
I would think money.
Take compensation.
Money, if I didn't say money already. Money.
Working with a group of people that all have the same goal.
Well, I think I would try to choose a job where I'm more passionate because if you like what you do, then you'll probably be better at it anyway.
The people around me to be just as devoted.
I'd rather be happy and like what I do instead of just getting a job that is the highest pay salary.
With regard to work habits and overall role in the workplace, what are a few words you'd use to describe Gen Zers?
They don't want to work for it.
Entitled.
And shiftless and unmotivated.
Not being prepared, not being self-sufficient.
I'm determined and I'm a hard worker.
Creative, helpful.
We know how to use technology.
Devoted.
Hardworking.
Team-oriented.
And hardworking.
Nobody knows Gen Z. So what? Well, with 10,000 baby boomers reaching retirement age every day, smart employers are devising plans to attract, engage, and retain Generation Z's best and brightest.
I do think that they are very motivated and they want to do well. They look for college, they ask lots of questions about going to college, so they really are very motivated and much more than I thought they would be when I first started teaching.
So, what's your Generation Z hiring strategy?
Pretty funny. I like this one the most. I love that because she was so shy. Generation Z is not shy in that sense. They are open, they are constructive, and what I like at this video is that what I really want to emphasize on, if you want to develop a recruiting strategy, a health strategy, a whatever strategy for your company, you have to know who is in your company. And it was so funny to listen to those guys. They didn't even know which age they are, but they had a clear impression how they behave. So I would say they cannot develop a strategy. So that's why I'm coming with this topic, and you will have later the possibility to download the presentation so you can have a closer look. But what I want to do here is just to start a little process with you, to start a change with you. So if you want to hire those people, you have to have different strategies. And the interesting is this Generation Z, these are the really young ones who are coming to the labor market, let's say so, tomorrow, in the next 5 years, and on. They behave already different than the Generation Y. This is your generation, your generation, your generation, your generation. They behave already different than Generation Y. Because Generation Y, for example, they are more for having let's say so, communication through electronic media than having communication through face-to-face. But it's not a surprise if you think why it is like it is, because the other generation always want to make things different than the generation before. So they say, well, we could actually meet. I like to meet people. I am tired of all this electronic media and stuff. So they want to meet again. So if you started to build up an office which included all, let's say so, fancy things and stuff for Generation Y, you can turn back now and think how to be attractive for Generation Z. Pretty cool. Enabling us to do something different in a company. If we talk about different generations, organizations, let's briefly talk about learning in a company. Previously, older style companies, they had kind of offers to design career plans. You want to get this job, then you have to go to that seminar and that seminar and that one. You have to go through. And they built this so-called chimney careers, Kornstein career. You start here, you go up, you go up, you go up. Nowadays, the Generation Z, they are not really interested in career, they are interested in impact. They are, as we heard already, they are interested to change their employer. What chimney career can you build for those people? I can tell you, none. They're not interested. They move rather to another employer to start a new career, new job there. They will not stay in the fields they studied, definitely not. My grandpa started to work in Audi, and do you know where he went in pension? In Audi. Did he use his knowledge? Yes, he used his knowledge. Because at that point of time, the changes were massively slower than today. Let's think about a very common situation. You own a car dealer business, and you have salespeople. When the first Volkswagen VW Golf came on the market, this Volkswagen Golf was sold 7 years. The new model, on average, is sold only 2 years. You are responsible to train your salespeople. 25 years ago, you needed to train a person on a new model every 7 years. Nowadays, you have to do it every 2 years. And you can look in whatever it is. Is it a TV? If it's a smartphone? Is it whatever? The frame where the old model stays on the market is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. Does mean you need to train more people. 7 years versus 2 years. How high is the effort? How higher? 3 times more effort to train people. Can you spend hours and years on training some people the same as much as they have done 7 years before? No, probably not, because your employer will not give you the money. He probably will not give you 3 times more money. But we are expecting that we train all those people. And imagine, 16 to 17, 18 times changing an employer. You need to get them fast into the job. You need to ramp them up fast. This actually means that the biggest change in learning in organizations is happening there, where we are inviting people to work in our workplace, and we encourage them to work what they need to do their work. But we normally don't know what they know. Sometimes they have been in seminars and lectures and studied, and they have experience, sometimes not. Do we want to test them all and develop an individual career plan for them? Probably not. So what the newer organizations, companies do, and very big ones, is they develop a open environment where everyone can learn in the pace they want to learn for the job they want to have. And there are pretty fancy tools out there. For example, in Austria there's one tool, it's used in recruitment. Actually, you hear about a famous name. I don't have an example in Estonia, but you hear about a famous name, and you say, okay, I once want to have this job. I want to do this job. And then the tool actually provides a comparison of what you know, your skills, you have to enter those things, and what this person knows, and how he made his career path. And then you will get a printout and say, okay, you need to be 3 years in the United States, you need to study this topic in addition, you need 2 years work experience in that. So, but this is a change of the world, how it has been. Previously, the employer was the one who took care about the development of the people. But here, it's handed over to the employee. If you want to move forward, if you want to work in that project, if you want to get that job, you need to train that. Go ahead, do it. And there are pretty interesting, let's say, solutions out there. For example, the newer way of learning. You probably can imagine they will do a lot online, in the cloud, whatever. And this is the learning in 10 years. I can tell you the face-to-face trainings we have today, they will disappear more and more. They will always be there because there's a need for something. But if you look into an average seminar, every training, let's say, so you will have a 3-day seminar. The first 1.5 days are spent on what? They're spent on transferring knowledge, to get you the theories, to get you the information, whatever, into the head, to have a homogeneous group of students which then actually, in the best way, can exercise, practice, and go deeper with the topic. But the first 1.5 days is simply handing over information, theories, and so on. This can go online. And this is something which is not need to be done in a face-to-face training. But what we need the face-to-face training for is to exercise, to practice, to go deeper, to ask questions, to interact, to communicate. So a lot of the learning content which we see today still out there will change totally. And we have the tools already. We have our handhelds, we have our smartphones, we have good IT connections and so on. And tools to build e-learning content are getting cheaper and cheaper. So that's the new way of learning. In one sense, it goes digital. The other is, there will be no company in the world doing video files of every topic. And you cannot. The topics are changing every 18 months, every 2 years, a new model. You cannot simply have every 2 years everything recorded, having a movie team coming to your place. So what you do is you encourage your employees. Make a short video clip about what you have done. What was this television show, showing the news. This can be also a format to show best practice things. So you encourage your employees to train other employees by sharing knowledge. That's a shift in learning, and it's a very important shift in learning. But this actually requires an environment where this is fruitful. It's not only that we know that the current method of learning will not lead to anything because the people will remember maximum 10% of the content. It's also that when they go back to work, totally encouraged, empowered, motivated, the environment is the same. And sometimes it's very resistant for change. So if you change the way of learning, what you need to do, because we have the young generation and stress from out there, people moving in and out of companies very soon and fast, then there is a need for changing the organization. And let's start with a topic which I like really much. Let's start with the leadership style. The leadership style, if you can see, let's say, to make it very easy, you can say, here is the old-fashioned way of management control, and here is employee control. Just what I was talking about, and this Adidas is doing. Learning has been management controlled, and now it will be employee controlled. That people learn what they want to learn, when, and how. Is there a solution for every company, any organization out there? No, it is not. I cannot tell this is a bad leadership style, because probably if you're an army, you are not expecting this kind of leadership style. If you are in a hospital and you're a doctor in a surgery, you don't want to discuss with your employees. You want to do the surgery. Otherwise, in the meanwhile, you discuss it. Your patient might be dead. So there is a need for different kind of leadership styles still out there. But let's talk about what happens in general. In general, we see that the most companies go away from this autocratic style, typically 100 years ago, to this paternalistic style, typically some 60 years ago, to this participative style. This is then started in the 70s. This started then in the 80s, 90s, and since 2000, this style is more and more common. If you want to ask me what my preferred style is, that's this here. Is it there where I want to be? No, I'm still in a change process. Can you train a leader to become this when he's paternalistic? Well, it's a process. You will not send him to a leadership training and then you expect he comes back and he is changed. No, he's not. You can start the process. And in the best way, you will do another training. But the most training will come on the job. And do you have any idea what the generation Z, what the kind of style is they actually want to have? Is it more on the left, on the right? Who's for left? Okay. Who's for right? Okay. They are somewhere here, let's say so. They still want to have frames and borders. But the question is how much you control them in between these frames and borders. And this is what they actually expect. This organizational style, let's say so, how you lead a company and how your leaders are behaving in the company will change the whole culture of the company. If you are autocratic, the company will have a certain culture. The people will follow the rules and they will not ask questions. Good environment for generation Y and Z because they will ask questions. So they are out, and that's also good if you want to have only people older than 40 and above. Not bad. I'm not telling this one is bad or good, but there might be a need for this or that. If you want to have different generations in a company, you should be aware how to address your people. Again, every generation wants to be addressed different. It's really hard. You cannot actually lead a person who is 60, who has always been working in this. You put him in this environment and he can do whatever. They feel uncomfortable, to be honest. You have to give them some guidelines. You can say, well, I recently had an interview and one of the girls actually asked, can you explain me how is a typical workday in this company? And I couldn't, because we don't. When do you start and end? Well, in our company, I will come to that. In our company, we don't start and end at a certain point of time. So what is a typical workday? Already there, but I can say, we have people who like to start at 8 o'clock and leave at 5, and we have people who do it differently. So you open the environment for both kind of generations, for both kind of methods. So leadership style, very important to work in newer organizations. You have to, let's say so, play the claviature on both sides. You will have different generations with different expectations who like that and that leadership style more.
The cubicle is one of the more ironic creations in the American office. The inventor wanted to sort of save people from the anonymous spaces that they were confined to. I think everyone knows the images of what offices were like in the early 20th century. People have seen the show Mad Men. They know that steno pool, or if you've seen the movie The Apartment, where just row after row of desks surrounded by corridors of offices. And Robert Probst, who was the inventor of the office cubicle, he said the office today is a wasteland. We need to fix it effectively. And the solution that he came up with was called the action office. A 3-walled space. It was fabric-wrapped wood. And the idea was to give workers a space of their own, something that they could personalize. You could pin stuff to the walls. You could shape it the way you needed. So it was really meant to be autonomous, independent. When it debuted, it was a real success. People thought this would totally change the way people worked, and it did, just not quite in the way that they intended. It started to become this tool for companies to cram in as many people as they could into as little space as possible. The cubicle occupies a very strange place in contemporary culture. I mean, it's definitely one of the most reviled objects in the workplace. I mean, there's Dilbert.
Corporate accounts payable, Nina speaking.
The film Office Space. The cubicle is the symbol of this uncaring, stupid company, basically.
We have sort of a problem here.
And so the fact that people have come to hate the cubicle so much led to various kinds of designs that get rid of cubicles, and this is seen as a kind of liberation. And I think open office plans have a lot to offer in the sense that they do offer interaction. But studies show that people prefer to work in closed-door offices. You find people who are thrown out of cubicle spaces who move into more open spaces actually missing their cubicle. So it's another kind of twist in the history of the office.
You might wonder why I'm coming up with this video now. Did you know about the story about cubicle? I think it's quite interesting. The cubicle itself, like the American name it, actually we found it in Germany. They have had, well, a lot of companies have this cubicles, but the smaller companies, they had that what we call cells. You know, the small office where you put 1 or 2 people in, and sometimes you need to squeeze a third one in there. And the funny thing here is a cell, you know, in Germany, if you go to jail, also this room is called the cell. So this is what I feel about this. But this is just a development out of these cubicles. And why I'm coming up with that is, even if you create an environment with good leaders, if you create an environment where you integrate or develop learning in the company, an environment where you integrate different generations and you know them to work with them, there will be still the office. And you heard the generation said they want to come to the office. How this office should look like? Well, big question mark. There was a trend, as you heard, to go away from this cubicle to this open office, but some people felt uncomfortable, and I still feel open offices often gives a lot of stress. So is this an environment where the people want to go, the young people want to communicate? Is an open office a good place for that? Probably that's not a good place. But there, over the last 5 years, there have been several trends, and you can look, of course, you first can look in all those fancy companies like Skype and others. Microsoft, Telia recently opened a new office, and they have a great clip online, Telia Sweden. I don't want to show you because that's a lot of marketing, but that's a great office, a great place to work. You see only young and happy people there. You don't see people in my age. It's interesting, actually. But anyway, great offices, great places to work, and I want to show you just one example of this office.
Imagine coming to work every day and having no desk of your own. You have to find a place to sit every day. That's the way it works at the Toronto headquarters of consulting firm Deloitte.
And there's about 18 different types of workstations on any given floor.
Ryan Brain is a partner at the firm. He oversaw the team's transition to the new space and a new way of working.
So none of these people sit in these chairs every single day?
Some may decide to, but that we encourage them to move all throughout the office depending on what they may have on that particular day.
Employees can choose from a quiet spot or a communal space, a meeting room, or a cozy cubby for private calls. Wondering where to stash your personal belongings? Everyone gets a locker. The buzzwords in office design these days are flexibility and choice. It's a far cry from what Canadian author Douglas Copeland once called veal fattening pens. But even with Deloitte's fancy new office, which includes a gym and a meditation lounge, some staffers have resisted the no assigned seating policy, trying to lay claim to a regular spot by leaving a coat draped over a chair.
It's like going to a resort and you see the beach towels on the beach chairs in the morning and you can't find a spot. And that's what we're trying to discourage.
Nonetheless, he says feedback from staff is mostly positive, and the new layout helps to attract and keep staff. The old ways of working certainly aren't dead yet, but they're definitely in transition. Diane Buckner, CBC News, Toronto.
Of course, these are the great things, the great, let's say so, the lighthouses. But a lot of Estonian companies do have smaller companies. Our company has around 30 employees here in Estonia. We cannot even rent this kind of big office. We can have all this fancy stuff, but you can do something. We went this year from Pig Street to this house, and actually there was a challenge in why we should do this. We had some topics with the building in Old Town. Heating was a general topic, but there was also kind of, when we started to work in Estonia in 2004, the most of the people came by public transportation. And the last years, the most of the people came by car. How to park a car in Old Town, pretty interesting. So there have been several reasons why we thought of moving out, but when we thought about moving out, we wanted also to change the work environment, because the old environment, the rooms, did not suit to us anymore. And so what we did actually is we established a so-called activity-based work zones. So we have several zones, and I can encourage you. This you can do even in a smaller office. So we have different kind of setups, as you can see. Here's a smaller place. We have even single boxes. You can see here some, let's say, so very closed working areas, a little bit more open areas, very open areas. We have some, still you can see it here. We have some high chairs, and we have a board. So in total, we have 8 or 9 different options how to work. And of course, we also have the funny, there is no dedicated place anymore policy. 80% of the people have their place. We actually say you come and go whenever you want, but of course the most of the people, they someday found the place, this is best for me, I want to sit here, I want to sit next to you or next to you, whatever. So let's sit here. Before we have done this, I went to a friend of mine in Microsoft Munich. They also just moved to this fancy new thingy, and we thought about how to move and things, and he showed me around in the office. And to be honest, all this funny, fancy, glamorous stuff was very interesting the first 2 or 3 months. And then the people started to work there, let's say so, there, at a normal workplace. The tennis, the soccer places, the place with this divan, open zones, nice designed, best furniture, they are really, really seldom used. Why? Because the most of the people are not working in any creative job. The most of the people are working in any kind of administrational job. And to do this job on a divan, maybe that's not the best place. To have a company meeting or a department meeting in an open space which looks good and everyone can pass by and listen, you don't want to do this. You're looking for a closed meeting room. So what I did then, I had also funny plans about our office, but I got this reality check, and to be honest, this is how I see an office today. Activity-based work zones, more silent places, places where to mingle and cooperate, sit together. And of course, we have tables which you can move up, and you can also stand up and go somewhere. That's all fine. And you can do this also in a smaller organization, in a smaller company. You don't need to have your own gym. If you're in this building, you cross the street and you're in the next gym, which I can recommend to do so. But anyway, this is how offices today are built. And I don't know where as I said, it's a change process. You have heard about the story of the cubicles. Then the walls were there, then the walls were turned down, then companies misused the system to squeeze as many people as possible into one room. Nowadays we are, thanks goodness, far away from that. But I don't know where it goes. Definitely the office needs to be a place where everyone of the different generations feels well to work. That's true. You can do a lot. And just talking about what you can do as an employer, there are sometimes the little tiny things. If you think about a kitchen, if you think about your population of working people in the company, if you think about a kitchen, for example, where is the dishwasher? Is there anyone who does have a dishwasher in the office? Some of you might have. How do you deal with this dishwasher? You open the door and you go down. Imagine of an aging society, an aging work population. Do you know the fridge, the normal standard fridge is that Kühlcup, the small one. The better ones are the big ones. If you open and you see what you want to take out, vegetable and fruits, of course, only. So you see what you want to take out. But there is no kitchen I know where the dishwasher is built in a position which is actually good for your back. Why so? I don't know. I really don't know how good it would be to open this thing and really to deal. But no, why I'm coming up with this topic, when my parents went older, they had a dishwasher at home, and the last years before they died, no one was using this dishwasher anymore. They couldn't. It was too complicated. Oh no, I have time, I can wash my dishes in the sink. They didn't feel comfortable to deal with this thingy because it was not comfortable in the position. But there are little things we can think about, and altogether makes us changing the offices to a better place to work. Better place to work for companies also means that you have to break up with common rules, and I have to check, yeah, fine. With common rules. Coming to work at 8 and leaving at 5, actually, if I want to be a little bit provocative, I would say it's really nonsense. There was an interesting Danish study that, and you all know this, but we don't integrate this in normal day work and life organization. There's a study, and you all know this, there are people who want to stand up early and who are fine with standing up at 6 or 7 and going to work and really active. They have their active time in the morning. And there are people who wants to stand up a little bit later, who likes to come to the office at 10, and their really productive time is in the afternoon. If you put them both into a work environment with fixed borders, you don't use the productive time of that person, and you don't use that productive time of that person. So the easy solution is you make it free. You can come and go when you want. And there was an interesting concept developed in the year 2006 and 2007 in the United States called ROE, results-only work environment. And when I read about this, I got really excited. I took a flight to the States. I met the two founders and were discussing with them about what they did and how it worked. And then I came back to Estonia, and a few days later I announced to my company, we will change our work environment. We will do ROE. ROE. Results-only work environment. You want to focus on results? And said, okay, this is not the most important. The most important, what I don't focus anymore about. I don't focus about controlling people. So you need to trust your people. Would you hire anyone whom you don't trust? No. Okay, I need to trust people. Okay, what does it mean, results-only work environment? Results need to be produced, but I'm not controlling how and when and where. Actually, everyone in our company can come to the workplace, and this was also what the company where they started first in the States. They can come to the workplace whenever they want. They can leave whenever they want. They can work on the topics wherever they want. And that's it. Easy. There's one more rule. No result, no job. Pretty important. So the only thing what you need to control is the result, not the FaceTime a person is sitting behind the desk and checking his emails or going to Facebook and checking latest news. You don't need to control this FaceTime a person is sitting in the office. You don't even know if they are productive in that time. I'm not telling the people are unproductive and all people are unproductive. No, I'm not. But you don't need to control things you're not interested in. Are you interested to know how long this person is sitting behind the desk? No, you're actually not. You want to know what they do. So what you control is the result. So we implemented indeed results-only work environment in our company in 2008. And it was a long process because actually it was, of course, a day when we announced it. From tomorrow onwards, we have ROE. And I was so excited what will happen the next day. And you know what happened the next morning? Nothing. Everyone came the same time as before. Okay, and then there comes the challenge for the employer, for the managers. Then there came the day when the first employee left, 1:30. And you're so much trained to look at the clock when someone is leaving the office at a totally unusual time without saying anything. So better you take your clock off in that days. You will not be, because then you're again starting to control the time. It doesn't matter when the person is leaving. If this person wants to go to the kindergarten or school and pick up his children and drive home and start to work from there, why not? As long as the job is done, they can decide on when, where, what they do. And you see, what I'm presenting is all connected together. ROE is also just an environment you can offer. It does not mean that the person who wants to come at 8 in the office and leave at 5, he can and she can. But you're offering several other options to people who don't want to stick to the old systems. And I have a little video clip which I made on my own, so excuse about the quality, with some of our workers in the old office.
Because I feel it makes me more responsible for my own performance. I feel that I'm assessed based on what I do and how I do, not when I do it.
Okay, in my point of view, Robo is excellent way of working, especially for a young father, because it allows me also to be much more with my little daughter, to stay at home. So at the time when my daughter is awake, I can be next to her. It allows me to make my own structure of my work, so that I know how to do and when to do. It doesn't give me any pressure to have my sitting hours, but I know exactly how to organize my own work.
I would say about Robo only 3 words. Motivation, independence and sense of duty. It gives you motivation when you have your free schedule. It gives you also independence when you have your free schedule, and it gives you a sense of duty because you need to have, you know you have to do your stuff and you can't leave it undone.
This nice clock without any hours actually have been presented to me from my employees after I introduced Row. Do the people like Row? They like it very much. I'm happy as an employer that we have this in the company, yes. Is it attractive? Yes. Are there challenges? Yes. Because, for example, you need to know where the people are and if you can access them, how to access them. For example, if a person is leaving 1:30, there need to be a clear sign, I'm not accessible for the next 2 hours. So you need to put it and leave it online, for example, so your colleagues will not call you in this time. But there are challenges which you can overcome. It's also a process, but I can recommend definitely to change this environment as well to support all the other activities. If what's going on elsewhere, there's a huge trend out there not to have your own employee anymore, to work with freelancers. Freelancers, the population of freelancers, wherever you look, if it's United States, if it's Germany, France, Spain, the population of freelancers is increasing. New challenge for employers? Yes, it is, because you don't have to integrate them in your workforce, but you have to integrate them in the work which need to be done. So that's a totally different topic. The freelancers, they work on their own. The interesting for an employer is they are training themselves because they want to sell their service, so they want to be trained. So no need usually for an employer to get trained. You have a different salary scenario, you have a different contractual scenario. This makes it all easier for the employer, but the freelancer is no one you can count on like an employee. You're contracted for a period of time and then the person is gone and moved to the next project. Is it difficult for the companies? Yes, because they're not yet used that their own employees are also moving in and out that fast. In a couple of years, we will see there will be a balance. You know, we will treat more or less the freelancers in the same way like we treat the employees. They are self-learning, self-studying, self-developing. They have different contracts, and this may be in the future the biggest difference. So as you can see, the number of freelancing every year, it's increasing and increasing. Is it a good trend? Actually, to be honest, I don't know. For the state, it's not a good trend. Those people are usually not paying the same amount into the pension systems and social tax systems and so on. There will be a lack of money. They often don't pay this amount into Heigekasse. It depends how the government systems are built worldwide. So that will be a challenge for a lot of countries to deal with a less and less income, as we have seen, to deal with more pensioners. What to do? The question is, with all those things, organization, we have been talking about organizations. You have heard about cultural things in the company. Is there the culture which need to be the perfect culture in all the organizations? No, cultures are different, organizations are different, leaders are different. And as I said, in military you don't want to have a employee ruling kind of leadership style. You want to have the general. organization's commitment to the environment. Well, when I moved out of Big Street, I was so happy because I don't have to pay more than 1,000 euro for heating anymore. And I'm really happy because this is also an impact on the environment. I am now in one of the most economic buildings in Tallinn, and I'm happy about this. Do I transfer this message to my employees? Yes. Does it make them feeling well and proud? Yes. They work in a company who takes care about environment. Have we gone in an event this year and planting trees outside in the forest? Yes, we have done this. So we take care as a company about environment. And this is not the big things you need to do. It's like Eva has said here. There are always little tiny things you can start off. Flexibility in jobs. If the people are 18 months in the company, you have to be flexible how you keep them. And the best way is to give them a new job after 18 months in your own company. Then you can keep the person and you don't have the hiring costs anymore. So the environment will get more, let's say so, spread. You need to be much more flexible as an employer, as an organization towards your employees. You don't have any other chance because the young people are coming in, the oldest are still in. This actually, the whole setup is changing in that sense that we have many more generations with a totally different setup. When I came to a job, and my generation went to a job, they said, the older ones in the team said, oh, come on, he's different, but you will see, in 3-4 years, he will adapt to the environment. This behavior is done. We cannot wait and an employee is adapting to the environment. We as an employer have to adopt because the young generation, they will not adapt to the environment. They are the fast movers, whatever they do, in, out, like, don't like. And this is the same with an employer. So you cannot wait 3-4 years that they adopt to the company style. If you want to be attractive for those generations, you need to adopt to their behavior and not the other way around. So there are some other hints, but I'm coming to the end of my time. And there's one little more movie from Deloitte.
The game of human capital has changed. Strategies that kept organizations ahead before may no longer work. That's because the playing field itself has shifted. In this digital age defined by disruption, there are new rules for everything. The new rules reward organizations that replace structural hierarchies with networks of agile, empowered teams. They give points for creating learning experiences that allow employees to build skills quickly, easily, and on their own terms, and for incorporating that learning into integrated employee experiences that go from a person's first contact with a potential employer through retirement and beyond. The new rules favor all the advantages that technology can bring, like using social networking, analytics, and cognitive technology tools to find, attract, and place people in new ways. Creating digital workplaces and digital workforces to change how people work and the way they relate to each other at work. Using people analytics to support everything from operations and management to talent acquisition and financial performance. And combining the might and promise of cognitive technologies with the flexibility of freelancers, gig workers, and crowds. The new rules transform performance management from a focus on yearly appraisals to an emphasis on continuous feedback and coaching. And they prompt organizations to rise to the challenge of diversity and inclusion by focusing on accountability, data, and transparency. They benefit a new breed of digitally savvy leaders who can thrive in a rapidly changing network. Learn the new rules.
That's more or less a summary. So I'm pretty happy that I found that one. But if you have any more questions, then you are no challenge to ask. Or maybe I should ask someone of you, what do you want to know? No questions?
As we saw in this, the generation said that
Yeah.
they prefer face-to-face communication, so giving them really free working time. When is the guarantee going to face-to-face communication?
That's
This moment I feel creative, I want to talk to my team, but they are, I don't know, picking up the food.
This is very interesting that you're asking this question because this was one of the big learns we had in Rowe. The people, you couldn't meet them anymore. They have not been there. exactly that person you want to meet was not in the office. So what you have to do is you have to build environments, you have to build places, you have to build, let's say, so traditions. Like let's say so, we, for example, started to have several kind of setup meetings where we called it company day, where we did some kind of action. One day we had a mystic revival of the Soviet times, and people even started to get dressed like this, and the people came to the office. Last week, if we have had one employee who wanted to celebrate birthday, brought cake and stuff, and he made a kind of, what's it called? Victorine, a quiz about on his own, and the office was full of people. So if you create this kind of events, little frames, or let's say Friday is the office day voluntarily, but still people know Friday is the highest chance to meet, then you actually can deal much better with this topic. On the other hand, people are nowadays in our company used that if they want to meet and talk, then they set up a meeting and talk. And they say, are you tomorrow in the office? No, oh, bad, but maybe you can come, I would like to. No, then let's talk the day after tomorrow, if you still have time. Or if it's an urgent pressure thing, then of course immediately and phone call always happens. But the solution is really that we discovered we as a company has to work on that we build frames where the people can meet. Otherwise, the office is, I would not say empty, but often the people you want to meet are not there. And we have, of course, different teams, and they do this in their own group. So I know, for example, our learning development team, they meet every Monday. So Monday, for sure, you can have them all in the office. They will be there. And another day there's a recruitment team, and another day there's an administration. So you know exactly, okay, these people will be there. But this is an environment you have to offer. That's a good question, thank you.
And another question, the definite position is hard work, so let's say
Yeah.
secretary, who has to meet the guests, who have to do the opening time. They don't
No.
I understand, but something, as you said, people want to meet somebody. They don't want to give their, even those people who bring proofs, they don't want to give it to some robot. They want someone to give it over and select it, and other people want to know there is somebody meeting people and host people.
Let's say so. Yeah. The question is how long secretaries at themselves will be still in this job. I would say in the next 20 to 25 years we will not have any secretaries anymore, because we will have robots, artificial intelligence, and so on. You go there, ask the question. But you're totally right. There are jobs in any environment where the people have to be more in the office than maybe other colleagues. The first thing is, first recommendation, if you hire those people, tell it in the interview. I have been in situations where this not has been told, oh, we have this fantastic whatever environment, and they come to work, and then they got to recognize, well, you are expected to be there from 8 to 5. Thank you. So the first thing is hire the person and tell them clearly, truly, this is the work, this is the environment. We, for example, have for some clients we have hotlines. We have to have people in place being on the phone in that time, and probably they cannot sit at home or in the garden or at grandma's place. Probably they have to sit in a closed environment to answer the calls without any distraction and noise in the background. So you have to tell those people when you hire them, this is the rule for that job, and this is the result you have to deliver. If the person does not like, probably you have to take the next one. Be honest to them. The other topic is often we have jobs where we have a kind of team. If you have a secretary, that might be someone who will be a replacement if this person is on holiday or ill. Maybe they too can agree on this is my row a day and this is my row a day. And this is what this row actually does. The management is out of control, but the teams and the people together, they decide the new rules. One more hand over here. Sign, no sign. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.